Yeah. So yeah, I will now invite Professor zethu Matebeni to respond to family tree and the themes that Mojisola has just brought up to the whole room. Then we will open for conversations, ideas, questions, and everything else you want to share with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, Zethu.
Yeah.
Can I introduce you first?
Yes.
So Zethu Matebeni is an activist.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yes. So, zethu Matebeni is an activist, director, and documentary film producer, writer of essays and poetry that have been published in various blogs, journals, and books. Zethu is associate professor in sociology at the University of Fort Hare, and is also the first recipient of the South African Research Chair's Initiative in Sexualities, Genders, and Queer Studies. Zethu has published extensively in African queer studies, HIV, AIDS, and LGBTQ rights in Africa. Recent publications include Beyond the Mountain, Queer Life in Africa's Gay Capital, and the co-edited volume Queer in Africa, and Reclaiming Afrikan, which I have here, and I very strongly recommend. It's like going to an exhibition, but a very good one. So Zethu, thank you so much for being with us today. It's really an honor to connect across continents and being in the same room in real time and hear your voice and your perspectives.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you for that introduction. And I really want to say thank you to Lenny for the invitation. And particularly for allowing me to be open-ended in this engagement with Moj. Thank you, Moj, for your work. It was such a pleasure reading Family Tree. And actually, when we were on a break and Julia played that song by Beyonce, I thought, well, this is actually perhaps a perfect place to start, because Family Tree does exactly that, to make the connections between places and people. And I mean, even using the image of the tree, I think it is so powerful that we all can see ourselves as part of those branches. And that's a really, really, really important piece of work that you are doing. So thank you so much. I'm going to try and, well, I was given 35 minutes, but I'm hoping I'm not going to use all of it. I think there are three things that I want to talk about that are coming out of this work, Family Tree, and I'll do it a little bit differently. So the first is what Moj does, which is also in the prologue, the calling of names, and I found that so important and so powerful for Black women's names to be called, because what Family Tree does is to bring back a very rich archive of Black women and how important it is that we tell their stories. And you've done this work so beautifully, not just in Family Tree, but in this presentation that you were giving us today. And so following from you, and because I take Family Tree as also an invitation for us to keep calling these names. And so I will call also other names of women like Henrietta Lacks, who appear in my own context, being in South Africa. And it's two women in particular, who I will just introduce a little bit. The first is Winnie Mandela, and the second is Sarah Baartman, and I'll talk a little bit about that. The second theme, which will be interweaved in the stories of these women, is the theme that you talk about in Family Tree on multiplicity. And I find this so important, and you'll hear a little bit about it when I talk about Winnie Mandela. And the third one is what you call also in the play, the ethics of the earth. And I really love that, particularly the part about whiteness being buried, and so Blackness can live forever. And I'll talk about that at the end. So those are the three things I want to I'll focus on. So thank you so much for this opportunity. So South Africa lost our freedom fighter and liberator, Winnie Mandela, in April 2018. Many people probably outside South Africa only remembered Nelson Mandela, who was her husband. But Winnie Mandela, for many of us as Black women, was and is the person who we felt gave us breath and gave us life as Black women. And so I'm thinking about her because when I was reading Family Tree, there was so much about the importance of thinking about Black women and really rewriting their stories and giving them life because they have given us breath. And at the same time, for us in 2018, what happened with Winnie Mandela is that we stopped breathing for a little bit. And Family Tree talks about this kind of, this pause in our breath. And so what happens in this moment when we pause breathing, and what are the new things that come up? And for us, what came up actually was realizing that as we paused our breathing because of Winnie's death, was realizing that there was multiplicity. And so I'll read a piece that is dedicated to Winnie, and I think it is actually in the same, well, I'm remembering it now because of Modja's work, Family Tree. A mother never dies. So Winnie Mandela was known as the mother of the nation, for those who didn't hate her. So, and a mother never dies. She lives and lives through her children, not only of her womb, but of her spirit. Her fruits are infinite, bearing no limits. A spirit breaking borders, boundaries, cultures, and genders, born of a forgotten woman, birthing a nation. Winnie, that is how the world knew her. Nomzamo, the one who tries, and of many attempts, her family named her. Fighter, freedom fighter. Zanyiwe, tested and enduring all trials. Liberator, she lived her name. We live through her name. Did the world know that from a village in Bizana in rural Eastern Cape, a warrior would arise? The resilience of the Xhosa people ran through her blood. With a father who saw wars, witnessed his people destroyed, Nomzamo persisted. Carrying her people with her, she took them to the world, to Johannesburg, big city lights, a city where dreams are sometimes stolen. She held on her dreams. Pursuing education, she cared for her people one at a time. A noble profession she practiced, social work, showed her the realities. Blacks in their land struggling, whites in the land of the Blacks demanding more, brutalizing, killing, dividing, and thriving. These Blacks, her people, lived scared in numbers, oppressed by a minority. When the whites saw her power, they retaliated and gave her new names. Silencing her feminine strength, she only existed through the eyes of a man. Imprisoned, the man disappeared from our sight. Only through her eyes, the world saw his image. The white machine worked to vanish her, but her Black resilience shone through. Nomzamo remained. Birthing two daughters, nursing freedom, Winnie mothered a nation. Learning from Columbus, her father, she took care of her family, her people. Without her mother, she became one to her siblings. Columbus understood his daughter was destined for greatness, and Nomzamo took on the role of her father and loved her people as her children. Mother is political. A soldier, constantly alert, she is ready at all times. When the children are in danger, mother knows. She devises strategies to keep them safe. But the children doubt her. How could she, alone, know how to save them? They cry. Mother calms them. When they forget, mother reminds them. Mother remembers. The children have been left alone for too long. She promises to never leave. In the pain, she stays. She endures it all. She should leave. She should be punished, tortured, banished, exiled, screamed her foes. Her crime is reminding the children of their land. the land they are born into, the land that belongs to them, that defines them. She knows the power of the land, the source of their pride. She reminds the children, but they choose to forget. How dare she, a woman, the husbands demand. The children give up, give in, they sell, they settle, they sell out. She watches. Mother sometimes is witness, and that is enough. She looks and the children remember. For a moment, they cover their eyes, wanting to forget. Her eyes never close. The children's children grow up. They ask about the mother. All eyes gaze at the father. He looks to the world. Mother remains in the background. She keeps watch. The children's children see her. They look and look deeper. In her eyes, they see their pain. The children's children rumble. They ask the father. Truth, he demands. Reconciliation, he begs from the mother. She refuses. In defiance, she finds comfort. The children run with the father and their children. Free, they are post in apartheid. Blacks, they remain in a land that is white. Soon, their children will remember the look in the mother's eyes. They return to her again and again. Always there, she never tires. To give up is not an option. The children will save themselves, she believes. Their bellies are hungry, their heads on fire. They ask and she reminds them. The children's children return to the land. It is their mother's quest. The land is her freedom. The land is her nation, her first love. Pushing forward, they pursue her desires. They too fall in love with the land. The mother breathes and she smiles, encouraging. In the life of Nomzamo, we have come to see ourselves, to understand the lives of women in our nation. She lived through it all and experienced the brutalities of the apartheid system. And yet she was ostracized by her own comrades, branded an enemy, divisive, a murderer, a whore. We swallowed these words. As a people, we ignored her. Drunk in freedom and the euphoria of a post-moment, we forgot ourselves. On her 80th birthday, we returned to Winnie. The space between hailing her as a hero and branding her villain is full of contradictions. There is no either or with her. She is complicated, complex, and full. Her life is the real state of the nation. It shapes a future while battling the past in the present. And so we take on this character, filled with expectation, demanding more of her always. And so Winnie passes at 82. In her eternal rest, we keep her alive. We cry and mourn ourselves together. Winnie is no more. The future is dark. The present is real. The country pauses. One woman stops breathing. A nation exhales. In that moment, the movement rises. Hashtag I am Winnie. For weeks, we emulate her. She is reincarnated in every Black woman. Her dress, her style, her poise, in speech, act, and form, she is everywhere. We discover her truths and undo the lies. We rewrite her story and hold on to her. We vindicate her actions. We make her brave. She is brave. It is easy to do this. She is not there to ask why and why now. We embody Winnie. In keeping her alive, a part of us starts to breathe. Each day, the energy moves from body to body. Old struggles are challenged with new vigor. Women and gender nonconformists demand a national total shutdown. They are tired of being tired. Their bodies can no longer be war zones for men's power. They draw strength from the Winnie in them. Nomzamo lives. We learn this as we say her name. She keeps us trying to be the best in ourselves. As we draw from our own powers, we realize Winnie birthed freedom. She was the mother. We are no longer children. As a nation, we declare, our mother didn't die, she multiplied. And that was how the way you've written the story of Henry Lex made me really remember. And I think that, yeah, the work that you do was so powerful. The second piece is written by Diana Ferris, who's a poet, a South African poet. And it's a very powerful story. And it really tells the story of how the word can change the world. Yeah, maybe you know it, but I do want to share it here because I think part of the work that you do can actually do exactly that. So Diana Ferris, it's the story of Sarah Baartman, an African woman who in the 1800s was taken to Europe to be paraded because of how her body looked. So some of the images that you were sharing actually of Lucy remind again about this, about the objectification of women, etc., which Sarah Baartman went through. And Black women in South Africa, of course, have been crying about this for years, about how Sarah Baartman was objectified, humiliated, her body parts were cut into pieces, and exhibited all over Europe, etc., and kept in France actually for a very long time, until Diana Ferris wrote a poem. And this poem was so powerful. I've asked Julia to play it. This poem was so powerful that the French government, when they heard Diana Ferris read this poem, they took the decision to return the remains of Sarah Baartman to South Africa. So Julia, can you please play that poem? It's called I've Come to Take You Home by Diana Ferris. And Moj, in that poem, you will see the tree.
Please let me know if you can't hear it or see it.
We can see the screen.
I've come to take you home.
Yes, we can hear.
Home. Remember the veld, the lush green grass beneath the big oak trees. The air is cool there, and the sun does not burn. I have made your bed at the foot of the hill. Your blankets are covered in buchu and mint. The proteas stand in yellow and white. And the water in the stream chuckles, sing songs as it hobbles along over little stones. I've come to wrench you away, away from the poking eyes of the man-made monster who lives in the dark with his clutches of imperialism, who dissects your body bit by bit, who likens your soul to that of Satan and declares himself the ultimate God. I've come to soothe your heavy heart. I offer my bosom to your weary soul. I will cover your face with the palms of my hands, run my lips over the lines in your neck, feast my eyes on the beauty of you, and I will sing for you, for I have come to bring you peace. I've come to take you home where the ancient mountains shout your name. I have made your bed at the foot of the hill. Your blankets are covered in buchu and mint. The proteas stand in yellow and white. I've come to take you home where I will sing for you have brought me peace. For you have brought us
Hello, I'm Patrick Stewart.
Thank you, Julia. Now you can move away from Patrick. So that was, Dinah Ferris, the poem to Sarah Baartman. And as I said, so a few years ago, Sarah Baartman's remains were returned to South Africa. And that has been a really powerful story for many of us for the nation, but in particular for Black women. And it also just talked about the power of the word and creative works. And I think some of the themes, as you can hear in this poem, are actually part of the work that you produced. So, I was really appreciating this kind of conversation that is happening around, what Black women are producing, but also the kind of, as I said, the symbolism of the tree and what it is that we do to weave our stories together, but also to find a possibility of coexistence. And the last piece I'm going to share is a dedication to Black women, Moj included, for the work that they do in ensuring that our lives continue to be heard and seen. And I called it Women's Worlds, Women's Ways. Women, with different letters, X, E, Y. The shifts are endless. The state of being seems to be constantly changing, yet it remains the same. Looked from all angles, a female figure represents a subjugated category. Attempts to recategorize, resist, and disassociate from men or weak. Space is made for Y and then again X. Each time, change is visible but silent. Woman is a limited category, trapped between a binary. Binaries exist and thrive to form boundaries. They serve to self-regulate, restrain, and contain desires, reminding you of being good when all else is bad. Binaries give shape to restless figures, form to unyielding beings, claiming belonging and marking exclusion. Never men and not enough women, too masculine and overly feminine. Weakness is never strength, and being strong is a sign of absence, a deficiency. Transgressing carries a heavy penalty. Daring to be different comes at a price. Failure to be disciplined may invite death. It will be called corrective when it is rape, stripped off its violence and torture. Women exist in these boundaries to maintain order, so their wings can be clipped and not take flight. Being on the ground does not mean you are alive. It is breathing while dead. How do you stay alive? Not enough stories are told about women of the world, their lives, their ways of saying, and the ways they feel. Women whose textures are not limited to their genders. Girl, sister, woman, wife, mother, aunt, other. Women who have used their bodies as canvas to tell different stories in their tongues. In these stories, women carry the pains of history on their backs, stretching broad shoulders towards the future, imagining freedom in the present. They move between spaces and time, being in between here and there, with all its instability, recognizing their impossibility and hindrance of movement and the detention of bodies forced by displacement and removals. They connect worlds in movements towards one another, occupying space together, forming new ways. Their voices echo as the sounds of the ocean, whispering in your dreams, haunting you with images of yourself free, erasing again and again the shadows of doubts, those murmurs of conformity, demanding you to be rigid when waters flow. Waves are crashing. Why are you still? These women breathe, a breath that sustains the depths of the soul, filling a loud emptiness, breathing new life when it is taken every minute and every second from your neck back, and a body no longer yours. In the silence, you feel them, touching your skin like gentle drops of rain, moving through your veins, awakening each limb and muscle in a rush of euphoria, choking the earth, choking the air, in the taste of which sits deep in the belly, igniting the fire within. You are meant to fly with these wings. We need to live as we are, unafraid of the darkness that threatens our existence, the daily battles to get up and face the forces of erasure. We need to claim our space in the world, to be seen and heard, valued for the gifts we offer and those we take, for the life we give and that which disappears inside us, the moments when we fall and rising is not option, but life living is an art we create every day. Weaved through the fabrics of souls laced in daily realities. We have been here before, but this is not a repeat. Nothing is new under the sun, only the reflections we give. Our power radiates new horizons. Yes, Black has many rays. Why fear trembling of the voice when it bursts into truth? Black women have come before you and lived, offering love languages and joys of solidarity, revolutionary acts of Black women loving each other, breaking barriers others' histories confined them to, their energies dismantling racist, capitalist, sexist systems, ending wars and liberating their people. They kept their fists in the air, even when they were the only ones left standing, refusing to be defined in terms others give. They named themselves Zami, Supi, Puchu, rivers running through their beings, blending time and space, traversing geographical locations. There is no more distance in what you can imagine. Strength is your inheritance. Power is the beat you move to. It comes in many shades, dispersing waves some call feminist, till they realize intersectionality, that reality is living in a place where your race, class, gender, and sexuality intersect in ways that are often deadly, demanding you to be unbreakable when everything around is shattered. There's a fallacy about Black women. They are resilient, regardless of any strike or force that comes their way. They always bounce back from hardship, oppression, and injustice. Through self-denial, they survive. Even rocks bleed. Why remain intact in the face of adversity? Bleeding is resistance, refusing to be negated. It's color making many demands, refusing to be erased, silenced, invisibilized, and made to die, forcing a different kind of dialogue, one that makes no assumption about how things should remain, until change for possibility exists, when we are no more women. Thank you, Moj. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Zethu. Thank you for your work. That was beautiful. What an incredible praise poetry. So uplifting and so what I need every day. And you're multiplying the feeling of, I love that, multiplying mothers. You're just multiplying through those three pieces of work. And thank you for your own words and also sharing the words of Diana Ferris. Was it Diana Ferris? Just wonderful.
Yes, Diana.
You don't know how much I needed that today. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Really, I know it wasn't just for me, it's for everybody.
Yes.
Receiving. Just it really reminded me of the incredible tradition of and richness of South African poetry and praise poetry. And when I first went to South Africa in '97, and also the improvised praise poetry as well. And thank you for the detail of everything that you wrote. And it's just so beautiful, incredible. And yeah, food for the soul. Thank you. And while you were speaking, Zethu, I sort of realized that it's very rare in my 25-year or so academic career, not quite 25 years, that I've been in a space of Black people for a whole day as speakers and as contributors, and just hearing our voice, really, Black women's voice, Black gender non-conforming voices, Black men's voices earlier with Topher, just how nourishing that actually is for me as someone who's just usually in one of very few Black people in white spaces. So thank you, for joining us and reminding us, Winnie Mandela, right? Because Winnie Mandela's name has been, as you said in your poetry, I'm trying to think of a word, tainted, I suppose. There were stronger words, but I just use that one. And so to remember how important she was and is to Black women, South African women, is really just important. Yeah. So Julia, I'm not sure if it's you or me now, just to leave a bit of space for a bit of conversation. Yeah.
I will stop the recording.